James Miller walked into the small diner on Alara Prime, tired and hungry. His cargo ship, the Sparrow, was getting refueled at Dock 9, and he had a few hours to spare. The place was quiet, with glowing blue lights and soft music in the background. Only a few tables were occupied. He found a seat near the window and looked out at the stars above the city dome. Just then, the door opened with a soft chime. A tall girl stepped in. Her skin was a soft silver-blue color, and her eyes glowed gently like twin moons. She looked around nervously and then walked to the counter. James noticed that everyone else in the diner tried not to stare, but they were watching her. Aliens were not rare on Alara Prime. But this girl seemed different. She looked graceful but tense, like she was hiding something. The girl took her seat a few tables away. James hesitated, then smiled and called out, "Hey, you can sit here if you want, safer near the window." She blinked, surprised. "You're not afraid of me?" James shrugged. "You don't look dangerous, just hungry." She smiled for the first time. It was a warm, real smile. "I'm Kari," she said, moving to sit across from him. "I'm James, pilot, cargo runner." "Lover of cheap noodles and warm coffee," he said with a grin. They ordered food. Kari asked for something sweet, and James ordered 2 plates of stir-fried noodles. While they waited, they talked. Kari spoke perfect English, but sometimes she paused, like she was thinking about every word. She asked about Earth, about music, about human jokes. She laughed when James told her a story about accidentally launching a toilet into space. "Why are you here on Alara?" James asked. She looked down at her plate. "I just wanted to feel normal, to eat food, to talk to someone who doesn't bow or follow orders." James raised an eyebrow. "You some kind of royal?" Kari didn't answer. Instead, she said softly, "Can we just enjoy dinner?" James nodded. "Sure, for the next hour." They talked like old friends. Kari told him about colorful nebulae near her homeworld, and James shared stories of long cargo runs and zero gravity. Card games, it felt easy, peaceful like the war. Politics and galactic rules didn't matter. Then the calm was broken. A soft beep came from Kari's wristband. Her eyes widened. Outside the diner window, small drones hovered in the air. 6 of them, each marked with the black triangle of the Ceruvian Empire. Kari stood up quickly. "They found me." James looked confused. "Who?" She grabbed his hand. "If you stay here, they'll take you too. Move." Before he could ask more, she pulled him toward the back exit. The diner's owner shouted, "Hey, you didn't pay." James tossed a few credits onto the counter as they rushed past the kitchen and out into the alley behind. The night air was cold. Red lights blinked above the rooftops. More drones, scanning for movement. "Okay," James said, breathing hard. "What's going on?" "I'm the daughter of High Lord Vectan of the Ceruvian Empire." Kari said quickly, "They want me back, but if I go, they'll control me." "I ran away." James stared. "You're royalty?" "More than that. They want to force me into a political marriage to gain control of 3 systems. I said no. I escaped." She looked at him seriously. "You're the first real person I've talked to in weeks." The alley lit up with a bright blue spotlight. A voice called out, "Surrender the fugitive, or be marked as a traitor to the Empire." James glanced at Kari. "Well, guess I'm a traitor now." He grabbed her hand again, and they ran through the narrow alleys. Dodging crates and blinking signs, Kari tapped something on her wristband, and a shimmer passed over them. Some kind of cloaking shield dye. Didn't last long, but it was enough. They made it to Dock 9. James's ship, the Sparrow, was small and old, but fast. He opened the ramp with his code and pulled Kari inside. "Buckle up," he shouted, running to the cockpit. As the engines roared to life, the docking guards tried to stop them, but James flipped the ship and sped out of the hangar. A loud voice echoed through the comms. "Unauthorized takeoff. Halt at once." James just grinned and pulled the lever for hyperspace. As the stars stretched into lines, Kari leaned back in her seat and whispered, "They'll track the stars I touch." James looked at her. "What does that mean?" But Kari was already asleep, her head resting against the side panel. She looked peaceful for the first time. James stared at her, then at the stars ahead. What have I gotten myself into? He said quietly. Outside, the galaxy waited. Dan, now James Miller, a simple cargo pilot, was suddenly the most wanted man in 3-star systems. James Miller kept his hands tightly on the controls of the Sparrow. The stars outside the cockpit stretched into long white lines as the ship jumped through hyperspace. His heart still beat fast. He looked over at Kari, who had fallen asleep. In the co-pilot seat, her silver blue skin looked pale, and her breathing was slow. She really is an alien princess, James whispered to himself. And I really just helped her escape. He had never planned to become a criminal or a hero. He was just a cargo pilot. But now, he was running from the Ceruvian Empire. And the girl next to him was the reason. After 2 hours, the ship dropped out of hyperspace near a quiet asteroid field. James set the ship on auto-hover and stood up. He found a warm blanket and covered Kari's shoulders. Then he walked to the back room and sat down with a sigh. The ship hummed quietly, and everything felt still for a moment. But peace never lasted long in space. Suddenly, a loud beeping sound came from the cockpit. James ran forward and checked the screen. A red warning flashed. Long-range scanners detected. Tracking signal locked. James frowned. How? We jumped randomly. No coordinates, no plan. Just then, Kari opened her eyes. She looked dizzy and weak. They tracked me, she said softly. Through the stars I touched. James looked confused. You said that before. What does it mean? Kari sat up slowly. The Ceruvian Empire uses a kind of energy called star race. When I pass through certain systems, I left behind a trail. Energy marks only they can follow. James stood up and began pacing. So they know where we are. Great, just great. Kari looked guilty. I didn't mean to put you in danger. I thought I could hide in human space. Blend in. But now you're part of this. James stopped pacing and looked at her. Well, it's too late to turn back now. They've already branded me a traitor, remember? Kari gave a small smile. You could have left me behind, but you didn't. James shrugged. Couldn't let them take you. You looked like you needed help. Kari's eyes softened. Thank you. Suddenly, the ship rocked slightly. James looked at the radar screen. A small blip had appeared. Then another, and another. 3 Hunter-class drones, fast, armed, coming in hot. No time for tea and hugs, James muttered. Strap in. He jumped back into the pilot's seat. Kari sat beside him and pressed a few buttons on the side panel. A soft blue shield formed around the ship. Defense shield active. She said. James pushed the thrusters. The Sparrow spun between 2 asteroids as green lasers flashed past them. The drones chased closely, weaving through the rocks like angry bees. James flew low and fast. Hold tight. He made the ship dive through a narrow gap between 2 large asteroids. One of the drones tried to follow and slammed into the side, exploding into sparks. One down, James shouted. Kari touched the console and activated the rear pulse cannons. She aimed carefully and fired. A blast of blue energy hit the second drone, knocking it off course. It spun into a sharp rock and shattered. Nice shot, James grinned. But the third drone was smarter. It stayed at a distance, dodging their attacks. Then it launched a missile. Missile incoming, Kari shouted. James flipped the ship upside down and hit the emergency thruster. The missile flew under them and hit a nearby asteroid, shaking the entire field. I have an idea, Kari said. She typed quickly on the screen. We'll send a false startrace signal. Make them think we're jumping to a different system. James watched as her fingers danced across the screen. You can do that, she nodded. If we time it with a real jump, it'll look real to them. Then let's do it, James shouted. Kari finished the code. Ready. James activated the hyperdrive. The engines roared. The third drone tried to chase, but just before they jumped, Kari sent out the fake signal. The drone followed it. And the Sparrow jumped away silent, clean, and unseen. They arrived in a quiet space near an old abandoned moon. No signals, no trackers, no enemies. James leaned back and let out a long breath. That was way too close. Kari smiled. We make a good team. He looked at her. So, now what? We can't keep running forever. Kari nodded. I need to get to a place called Zeta Cross. It's a neutral zone. A space station filled with traders, smugglers, and outlaws. My friend left a data key there secret that can help stop the Empire. James blinked. And you didn't mention this before because I didn't know if I could trust you. James chuckled. Fair. Kari leaned closer. But now I do. James stood up and stretched. All right then, princess. Set course for Zeta Cross. Kari smirked. Don't call me princess. James laughed. All right, partner. Outside the window, the stars blinked quietly. Somewhere out there, the Empire was still hunting them. But for now, they had each other and a plan, and James Miller, once a simple cargo pilot, was no longer running away. He was running towards something big. The space station Zeta Cross looked like a giant spinning wheel floating in the middle of deep space. Lights blinked along its outer rings, and hundreds of small ships came and went through docking bays. It was not part of any government. It had no laws, only deals, credits, and shadows. James brought the Sparrow into a slow approach. Kari sat beside him, wearing a hooded cloak to hide her face. We'll need to move fast, she said. The longer we stay here, the more likely we'll be found. Understood, James said. But I need a contact here first. Kari looked surprised. You know someone at Zeta Cross? James smiled. Toma, cybermerc, hacker. A little crazy, but useful. She helped me hide some, let's say, unusual cargo once. Kari raised an eyebrow. What kind of cargo? 5 crates of illegal jelly beans. James replied with a grin. Kari gave a soft laugh. I'm not sure if you're joking. I'm not, James said. They docked the ship and walked into the busy station. The air was thick with smoke, engine oil, and the scent of fried meat. People from all kinds of species moved through the corridors, some tall and scaled, others tiny and glowing. James led Kari through the maze-like halls until they reached a door with blinking red lights. He knocked twice, then once more. The door slid open. Toma, James said. A short woman with glowing cybernetic eyes stood there, holding a tool in one hand and a sandwich in the other. James Miller, she said, chewing. You owe me 10,000 credits. Good to see you too. James replied. Toma waved them in. Who's the shiny girl? Kari pulled back her hood slightly. Name's Kari. We need to vanish. Toma froze. Her eyes scanned Kari's face, then blinked fast. You brought her here? The one the Empire's screaming about on every bounty board in the galaxy? James looked confused. They're still talking about us. Toma turned on a screen. A video played. Wanted, James Miller. Human male, 6'1". Brown hair. Suspected of kidnapping royal blood. 50,000 credits alive. 10,000 dead. Another face appeared. Kari. Wanted. Kari of House Vectan. Escaped heir. Considered dangerous. Approach with caution. James whistled. 50,000? I'm flattered. Toma shut the screen. You're lucky I like you. Now sit. I'll scrub your IDs. She pulled wires from the table and began connecting devices to James's wristband and Kari's cloak. While she worked, Kari looked around. You live here. Safer than most planets, Toma replied. No kings, no rules, just credits. Kari looked thoughtful. Maybe that's not so bad. Suddenly, alarms echoed outside. Toma froze. Someone just uploaded new coordinates to the bounty board. You've been spotted entering the station. James stood up. How? Kari looked down. My energy signature, even hidden, the Ceruvians can detect it. They must have agents here. Toma tapped her screen. Too late to run through the halls. But there's a secret path under the cargo bay. Leads to a black market exit tunnel. Let's go, James said. Toma handed him a small disc. Signal scrambler. Block strikers for 5 minutes. Kari looked at Toma. Thank you. Toma smiled. Next time. Bring fewer enemies. They ran into the tunnel, dark, narrow, and cold. Water dripped from pipes above. James held the scrambler high, and Kari kept her wristband ready. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Then came voices, alien, cold. Searching. They're close. Kari whispered. James pulled her into a side chamber just as the armored bounty hunters passed by. They had scanners and stun weapons. Kari watched them. They worked for the Empire. James nodded. Let's stay quiet. After a minute, the hunters moved on. Kari sighed with relief. They reached the black market exit. A large door stood in front of them. Beside it was a security panel. Kari reached for it. I can hack it. James handed her a tool. Be fast. Her fingers moved quickly. Lights on the panel blinked red, yellow, green dot. The door slid open. Just as they stepped through, an alarm blared. The hunters had doubled back. They had seen them. James pulled out a small shot grenade from his belt, one of the few tricks he had left. He threw it behind them and ran. The blast shook the tunnel. The hunters fell back, stunned. James and Kari jumped into the cargo sled on the other side of the door. It sped them down the tunnel and out into open space through a hidden hangar. Kari activated her wristband. A message blinked on the screen. The data key. It's here, on Zeta Cross, in Locker B-17. James turned the sled back toward the station's lower docks. Then let's grab it fast. They reached the storage area and found the locker. Kari opened it with her personal code. Inside was a small silver cube glowing faintly. This contains records, she said, proof of what the Empire is doing. Mind control, secret weapons, hidden wars. If we share this, the galaxy will see the truth. James stared at it. That's why they're chasing you? Kari nodded. And why we can't stop now. They rushed back to the Sparrow, escaping just as more bounty hunters reached the dock. As they launched into space, James set a new course. Where to next? He asked. Kari looked at the cube. Echo 1. A satellite that can send messages to every system. If we upload this there, the truth will spread. James grinned. Then let's show them what humans and rebels can do together. Behind them, Zeta Cross grew smaller. Ahead, warships moved. Drones searched. Danger waited. But, for the first time, James didn't feel like he was running anymore. He felt like he was fighting back. The stars blinked quietly as the Sparrow flew toward Echo 1, a massive satellite that floated alone in space. It was once a communication hub used by many systems, now half abandoned. Barely running, but its signal was still strong enough to reach across galaxies. James sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the map. Echo 1 is just ahead. He said, no warships yet. Maybe we got lucky. Kari stood behind him, holding the silver cube they had taken from Zeta Cross. They'll come. The Empire won't let us speak. James nodded. Then we upload the data fast. As they approached the satellite, Kari spoke again, her voice low. James, I need to tell you the full truth. James looked over. I'm listening. Kari sat down. Her face was serious. The Ceruvian Empire created something terrible. A machine that controls minds. Not just soldiers, but whole planets. It sends signals through a rare energy called neurowave. Most species fall under its power in seconds. James frowned. Then why didn't it affect me? Kari looked at him. Because humans are resistant. Your minds are noisy, unpredictable. The machine doesn't work on you. James smirked. Being stubborn finally paid off. Kari smiled slightly. That's why I ran. I stole part of the control. Core, the silver cube holds the data. Yes, but the real key is something else. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small crystal shard. It glowed with soft blue light. This is a living piece of the weapon's AI, she said. It tried to bond with me, but I rejected it. Then it tried you. And it accepted you? James looked shocked. Me? Why me? Kari held out the crystal. Because your mind is strong enough to control it. Not be controlled by it. You are now connected to the core system just a little, but enough to fight it. James slowly took the crystal. As he held it, a strange feeling passed through him. He saw flashes, cities in flames, people frozen like statues, and then a bright light. He dropped the crystal. What was that? Memories from the AI, Kari said. You saw what it has done. What it will do unless we stop it. James looked at her. So, I'm not just wanted anymore. I'm dangerous to them. Kari nodded. You're the only human who has bonded with the core. That makes you a weapon. James laughed nervously. Great. I used to deliver frozen fruit across moons. Now I'm a target with super brain powers. Kari reached for his hand. I'm sorry. I didn't want to drag you into this. James gave a small smile. Too late now. Let's finish this. They docked at Echo 1. The station was dark and silent. The lights flickered as they stepped into the long hallway. Dust floated in the air. Broken screens blinked slowly. Kari led the way to the central console. If I can upload the cube here, it will send the message across every system. The Empire can't stop it once it starts. James placed the cube into the slot. A screen lit up. Upload ready. Start transmission. Kari reached for the button, but before she could press it, alarms blared. James spun around. Outside the window, a large Ceruvian battleship had warped in. Its guns glowed red. Drones launched from its sides, flying toward the station. They're here, James said. Kari stared at the screen. We're not finished yet. James pulled out a pulse blaster from his belt. I'll hold the hallway. You finish the upload. Kari nodded and began typing fast. James ran to the door as the first drones flew into the hallway. He fired quickly, hitting one in the center. It sparked and fell. More came. James ducked behind a wall, shooting back as Kari's voice echoed behind him. 30% complete. James gritted his teeth. He felt the crystal shard still in his pocket. It hummed faintly. Then something strange happened. A wave of cold passed through his mind. He felt connected, like he could see the drone's thoughts. For a second, he sensed their movements, their signals. He stood up and pointed his blaster before a drone even appeared. He fired it. It fell in smoke. Kari looked back. James, you're sensing with the AI. James nodded. I can feel them coming. It's like hearing noise before it happens. Use it, she said. It's the only way. James continued fighting, now faster, more precise. He moved like someone who had done this 100 times, even though he never had. The upload reached 90%. Then the station shook. The battleship had locked its weapons. Kari yelled, "We need more time." James grabbed the emergency shield control. I'll boost the station's energy. We'll hold for 20 more seconds. The system warned him. Manual overload may cause damage to user. James didn't care. He slammed the switch. Electricity sparked. The shield grew stronger. The enemy lasers bounced off for now. Kari hit the final key. Upload complete. Transmission sent. A loud beep echoed across the station. The screen lit up with green light. James fell to one knee. Exhausted. We did it. Kari helped him. Stan, yes, the truth is out. Outside. The drone stopped. The battleship paused. Something had changed. The galaxy had seen the message. James and Kari ran back to the Sparrow, jumping aboard as the battleship started to power down. I sat in the co-pilot seat. They can't erase what we've shared. It's delayed, James smiled weakly. Good, because I think I just burned out half my brain. Kari looked at him with worry. You risked everything. James nodded. So did you? She reached for his hand. We're not done yet. He smiled. I know. Outside, the battleship didn't chase. Maybe some of its crew had seen the message. Maybe even they were questioning the orders. As the Sparrow flew away, the stars seemed brighter. The fight had just begun, but now the galaxy knew the truth, and humanity had just made its move. The stars outside the Sparrow glimmered as the small ship raced toward the next step of their plan. James Miller and Kari sat side by side in the cockpit, their faces tired but determined. Echo 1 sent the message, James said quietly. But I'm not sure if everyone heard it. Kari nodded. The Empire still controls many systems. We must send the data again and louder this time. James smiled. Where to? Kari pointed at the map. To the galaxy's largest communication satellite, Echo 2. It can send messages faster and wider than any other station. James pulled the throttle. Then we better get there before the Empire does. The route to Echo 2 took them through dangerous space. Pirate ships lurked near asteroid belts. Military patrols scanned for fugitives. James flew carefully, weaving through debris and scanning for threats. Are you sure Echo 2 is still working? James asked. Kari's eyes gleamed. It's old, but powerful. If we can hack it, The whole galaxy will hear us. Suddenly, the ship shook. Pirates! James shouted through the front window. Several fast ships closed in, weapons ready. James didn't hesitate. He flipped switches and fired the ship's pulse lasers. Bright bolts streaked out, hitting one pirate ship's engine. It spun away, smoke trailing. But more pirates came. Kari activated the ship's shield. Blue energy shimmered around them. James skillfully dodged laser fire, using every trick he knew. The pirates chased, but the Sparrow was fast and small. We can't outrun them forever, Kari said. We need a plan. James glanced at the controls. I know a trick. Near this system, there's a field of zero-gravity mines. I can fly through it and trap them. Kari smiled. Let's do it. James steered the ship toward the minefield. The mines floated silently, waiting. The pirates followed. James flew carefully between mines, weaving left and right. The pirates, less familiar with the field, crashed into the mines one by one. Explosions lit the dark space. The pirate ships escaped, but the rest were destroyed. James sighed. That was close. Kari smiled. You're good at this, James. Grin. Years of practice avoiding angry space traffic controllers. They finally arrived at Echo 2. The satellite was huge, shaped like a ring with long antennae stretching into space. James docked carefully. Inside, the station was dark, but active. Lights blinked on consoles, and a soft hum filled the air. Kari led James to the main control room. This is where we send the message. She plugged in the silver cube, and the screen lit up. Ready to upload? James asked. Kari nodded and pressed a button. Suddenly, alarms blared. James and Kari looked toward the entrance. Pirates from before had found them. They stormed in, weapons drawn. Looks like they don't want us sending messages, James said. Kari grabbed a small energy baton. James pulled out his blaster. The fight began. James dodged laser blasts and fired back. Kari moved quickly, using the baton to block attacks and knock pirates aside. One pirate aimed at the control panel. Kari jumped forward, hitting him with a strong strike. The panel was safe. James saw a pirate sneaking behind Kari. He fired quickly, hitting the attackers. The pirates began to retreat. Kai shouted. Finish the upload. James covered her as she typed fast. The screen showed a progress bar. At 90%. A pirate threw a grenade. James pushed Kari aside just before it exploded. Smoke filled the room. Coughing, Kari finished the upload. Transmission sent. She said, outside, the satellite sent a powerful signal. Across the galaxy, screens lit up with the message, the truth about the Ceruvian Empire, the mind control weapon, and Kari's escape. The Empire could no longer hide its secrets. James and Kari escaped back to the Sparrow. Did we do it? James asked. Kari smiled. Yes. The galaxy now knows. People will start to question the Empire. James looked at her. But the fight is not over, right? No, Kari said. They will come after us harder. But now, we have hope. James nodded. Then let's get ready. Outside the Sparrow, the stars shone bright. To fugitives, one human and one alien, ready to change the galaxy forever. The stars stretched across the black sky like silver threads as the Sparrow flew toward a small moon. Orbiting a giant gas planet, James Miller and Kari sat in the cockpit, tired but ready. This was their last chance to escape the Empires. Wrath or to fight back. James, Kari said quietly, the Ceruvian flagship is behind us. They won't stop until they catch us. James looked at the radar. A massive warship loomed, a dark giant with red glowing weapons. I know, James said, but we have something they don't. Kari smiled faintly. Hope. The moon below was scarred from old battles and storms. James knew this place well. It had hidden caves and abandoned bases. The perfect place to fight. Prepare for battle, James said, gripping the controls. Kari activated the crystal shard. The living core piece bonded with James's mind. A blue glow surrounded them. Let's end this, she said. The flagship's weapons charged and fired. Bright red beams cut through space toward the Sparrow. James flipped the ship, dodging the blasts. The Sparrow was small and fast, but the flagship was strong. Hold on, James shouted. Kari reached out with her mind, connecting to the crystal. Shard inside James. She guided him. Use your mind, she said. You can control parts of their system. James closed his eyes for a moment. Suddenly, he could feel the warship's systems, its engines, weapons, shields, all like voices inside his head. He reached out with his mind and sent a pulse through the shard. The flagship's weapons faltered. Its shields flickered. James smiled. Got you? The flagship sent fighter drones, dozens of them. James pushed the Sparrow through dangerous space, dodging drones and laser fire. Kari used her alien tech to hack the drones remotely, turning them against each other. The battle was fierce. James fired pulse lasers, knocking drones out of the sky. Kari's voice was calm but fierce. You're doing great. James laughed breathlessly. Thanks. Couldn't do it without you. Suddenly, the flagship's core reactor glowed dangerously. Kari gasped. They're powering up a weapon, something big. James's eyes widened. If they fire that, it could destroy the whole moon. Kari shook her head. We can't let that happen. James thought fast. I'll fly close and overload their reactor with a feedback pulse from the shard. Kari nodded. I'll keep controlling their drones. Flying close to the flagship was dangerous. Beams and missiles flew past the Sparrow. James focused, reaching out with the shard's power. He sent a strong pulse into the flagship's core. Suddenly, alarms screamed on the enemy ship. The core shook and sparked. James pulled away just as a massive explosion rocked the flagship. The warship was badly damaged. Losing power and shields, the flagship started to retreat. Kari smiled. We did it, James nodded. But it's not over. The Empire still controls many worlds. Kari looked at James, her eyes full of hope. We can change that, James smiled. Together, back on the moon's surface. James and Kari landed the Sparrow near an old rebel base. They stepped out into the cold air. A small group of humans and aliens waited, rebels who had seen the message and wanted to fight. James looked at Kari. Looks like we're not alone. Kari smiled. This is just the beginning. The galaxy was changing. From a simple dinner date on Alara Prime to a battle against an empire. James and Kari had become symbols of hope and freedom. The stars above whispered of a new future, one where humans and aliens fought together for peace. James looked up at the sky. Most wanted man in 3-star systems, he said with a grin. Not bad for a cargo pilot. Kari laughed. Most free, too. And so, their journey continued. The fight was far from over, but humanity had shown its strength. Because sometimes, all it takes is one dinner and one choice to change the stars forever.